Hello, people of Earth. This is Tesko with Rip Kenny and Trap Jesus, and you're listening to the Human Music Podcast. Woo!
Human Music Podcast. I like it.
Hey,
What's good?
it's check Street.
What's up?
We got the whole crew.
Everything's working. Yo, Tesko, it's been a minute, man.
Yeah, it has been. How you guys doing, man?
It's been good. It's been crazy on my side. This past week for me, I've been feeling hella unmotivated. Like I had a whole like stretch of fuck yeah, music. This is gonna be awesome. And then this past week, I'm doubting everything about my music and doubting everything about why I'm doing this.
Man, say from my end, bro, I am 100% confident in your music.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Thanks, man.
Real, yeah. You got the endorsement of all of us here.
Thank you.
Let's start the podcast off by saying that I legitimately have a short list of people from the dojo that I think are going to make it, and you're on that list. So
thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You're on that. All three of you guys are on that for me as well.
Hey, you don't have to say that, bro.
No, for real. No, for real. I mean,
I'm just teasing.
It's a real thing. And there's I remember when I first joined the dojo, because I was a student first, and I think all three of you were senseis before I became a sensei. I think I was one of the last senseis to join. And I'm like, holy crap, all these people are putting out music and making quality stuff. So yeah, I'm glad to be in the same ranks, I guess.
That's why we had to get you on the podcast, because it's the short list episode. So
sweet, I love it. But yeah, guys, it's been a rough week, I'd say. It's like sometimes the last thing I want to do is open up Ableton and just am I going to make something good today? The pressure of that is so real.
That is such a thing. To jump right into it. I mean, this is a real thing that I struggle with all the time. I know I need to work on music and I want to work on music, but the stress of opening up a project that I think is already pretty great.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be in a shitty mood or not feel motivated when I'm opening up that project, because I want all the moves that I'm going to make to be really good and in a good final product.
Yeah.
And then I'll end up opening something that I don't really care about and fucking with it and just leaving after an hour, be I just wasted all my time. That's what am I doing?
No, for real. Earlier this week I was mixing down a track, and I think I had sent I dropped it for feedback in your section, Trap Jesus. And I sent it over to you as well, Rip Kenny. I was mixing it down, and then after I mastered it, I listened to it in the car, and I had destroyed the mix. I was it got so much worse. I listened to the pre-mastered, the sort of almost pre-mix. I'm why does this sound better than my mastered version? And the vocals sound so much more clear. And I started questioning, man, I suck at this. It's just one of those internal battles that you deal with all the time, where you're I thought I knew what I was doing, but maybe I don't.
Have you tried that Skrillex template yet?
Skrillex put out the Mumbai Power video where he broke down his session, and then Ahi went through and really broke down exactly what all his bussing was doing and all his limiting on each bus and how it all summed together. And then Il Gates did a weekly download where he built one of those for us in the dojo. So if y'all join the dojo, join the weekly download, you'll get that template, and the 2020 song template's built out of that. But
it's super useful.
I've
been using it a little bit. G-Clip has been really messing with my computer though. Whenever I open G-Clip, my frame rate in my Ableton goes to unworkable slow. So I don't know why that's been the case, and I was looking it up online and stuff too. But I use it mostly for the sidechain busting, because I think that's really useful. And mostly for organization, it's useful for me. But G-Clip,
do you got a Smexoscope?
Yeah, I have that too.
Word, because you could just I find the main benefit of G-Clip is the visuals in it, because you can exactly clip off any extremities. So you could just use Smexoscope and Saturator or something for the same effect.
Yeah, that's right. That's my usual go-to for soft clipping and stuff. But the stuff that I've been making too is tends to be much more pad and like melodic stuff. And I've noticed that the clipping, it works for aggressive music, like Skrillex music, where it's like the saturation, the clipping makes your basses sound better. But I've heard sometimes on my like nice pads or whatever, the clip is really audible in a bad way because it doesn't add to the sound. Sometimes when I try to like soft clip the peaks and stuff, and sometimes if my pad is being clipped too much, then the pad gets those nice like, or not nice, but like the chunks of sound in there. You could hear it clipping in a bad way. So that's been one thing I've been wary of because some of my music is softer and there's not like hard transients, and sometimes the clipping, you can hear it on it.
That's weird. That's the one thing I liked about G-Clip is how transparent it is, in my opinion. But I just use it to clip off any extremities. Like I won't really use it to sausage a sound. It's more like if you got crazy peaks.
I built my own version of it in Reason using all the same types of routing. And actually, like I had a similar issue with G-Clip. I did not like the sound it had, so I used one of the limiters I use in my mastering process instead that has like this nice tube saturation sound. And I use it the exact same way that they use G-Clip in the video. And I just really like my one I bought instead of that free one personally too. And I've also noticed what you're saying, Sixth Street, is that when you're making softer music, pushing into those limiters as if it were a dubstep song does not work the same. And similarly, sometimes I have to take my instrument bus, the basic chain in there, and take it out of the comp bus where the side chaining's happening. Because like if I'm making like a trap song or a dubstep song or a glitch hop song, I love having my fat kick and snare duck out my instruments. But if I'm making like an R&B track or something vibey and atmospheric, I've noticed like all my atmosphere, I can hear it dip. Yep. It's like, nope, those aren't even strong enough elements to need a side chain on them because they're already not interfering with what my snare is doing.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Oh, you go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, figuring out not to sidechain for like R&B or hip hop was like the biggest thing.
Yeah. No, for sure. I feel like with the verses, typically my verses where the drums are sort of like riding in the track, I'm not necessarily ducking all my melodic elements out of the way, but typically the drops, especially like future bass drops, when you want the drums really up front, that's when I use the comp chain to really duck stuff out of the way.
It goes to show there's a learning curve on everything. I think I brought this up a couple of times, but I met a 25-year veteran engineer in Atlanta, and he was like, yeah, every 3 months I can look back and be like, oh yeah, that mix is pretty trash. I can do way better now. So, everybody gets better. And so for everybody out there listening, like, damn, when am I going to get good at mixing? Just like every day that you do it a little better. And some of those days you're going to assume you suck because now you understand what you didn't understand last month.
Yep. That's absolutely right. I feel that.
And man, speaking of which, one of the students at the dojo, I saw on social media posts that, they felt like, they haven't been inspired in a while and they're like really tripping and feeling like they've already made their best music and that they're never going to top it and, feeling really down. And I had to reply like, yeah, dude, I've been there, dude. I had that feeling like 15 years ago this one time, feeling like I had already written my best songs ever and I was never going to top them shits just because I was in a little slump. But that's just a wave. It just goes up and down. We're going to feel like we're dope because we did something. We're going to feel like we suck. And it's just that ego game fucking with us.
Dude,
it's humbling too.
It goes back to like the first point that Richie brought up is like, as you get better, your bar for yourself increases and your stress level on like knowing like that bar and feeling like you have to hit that bar or exceed that bar every time you write music is like toxic. Like kind of circling back to the fix to that problem. You just got to sit down and write music without expectations. Like you have the skills. You've done that already. You've built skills since then. To assume that was a fluke is just a complete negative thought that is not beneficial to your writing process at all in any fashion. And also like what I was talking about before, I have to be in a good mindset to sit down and work on this song. Like that shit is also a fallacy. Like, especially like mixing a record. Like I'll stress out like, I don't want to mix this record right now because like I gotta like I'm just making the final tweaks and it's got to be perfect. Like, no, dude, just work on it and then iterate. If like something's not perfect, you probably made 4 good changes and maybe 1 bad one, and go back and fix that bad one. But if you keep telling yourself that like, oh, now's not the perfect time, which by the way I do all the time. Like I'm telling you guys advice that I fuck up. But like you gotta just like work through that. Like and the same for me, like motivation wise, like Richie, like I find myself in moods like that, you know, like once in a while for sure. I mean, I don't know, sometimes more often than not. But what I find is that like if I can just get my stupid monkey human to start working at all on the thing that I want to work on, will figure itself out, dude. You're like, oh, I'm tired. I'm so unmotivated. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, and then there's like one email that like pops up in your inbox and you're like sitting there at your computer like, oh, I don't want to do anything. there's like one thing that you actually have to do. You're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. No, we got to do, not to cut you off, we got to be each other's secretaries because last time we were talking, it's so much easier to do other people's shit than your own. Like, I feel that so hard, man. Like, that one email, you'll let that shit sit for like 4 hours. But
oh my God.
You had to write like, all right, see you Friday, or like whatever, you know?
Yeah. For me, those emails,
I got 60 in my inbox right now.
No, for real. Sometimes those emails for me, like I'm the kind of guy who needs to like muster up the emotional energy to reply correctly to an email. So I totally see that like pushing it off an hour is like just procrastinating because I need to like get the right emotions in mind before typing out that email, you know? It's not that big of a deal at all, but you make it a big deal.
Yeah. But like when you go to act, so like you're sitting there, you're unmotivated, you're like, fuck, I don't want to do anything. And you do like one thing that took like a tiny bit of attention, and then all of a sudden you're like, I can't do anything. Mindset has flown out the window, and you're like, oh, okay, let me just move on to this next thing.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to get started at all on what you're working on. And that resistance to actually doing that, it's a mountain you got to climb sometimes, but I've never found a situation in which I've pushed myself to actually just start working on something like continued to be feeling that way, you know, at least in some form or fashion. That resistance has dissipated a little bit, and you can start making progress on whatever it is instead of sitting there like a slug.
Yeah,
Definitely.
If we let inertia, the fact that we're not moving, dictate the fact that we're not gonna move, then that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. But as soon as you're like, okay, I'm gonna get the ball rolling. Now the ball's rolling. Now you just got to keep the ball rolling as opposed to keeping the ball sitting still. You know, it's like, just start anything, you know, like that's why checklists are such a big motivator for me personally. Like sometimes I will have a checklist written of things that are like, oh man, those seem like a whole big task. And then I'll like write something easy on the checklist just so I can have the actual mental satisfaction of checking something
crossing it out. Yeah, I totally feel that.
Or even this, something I just already did that wasn't on my checklist, that didn't even need to be on my checklist, like eat breakfast. Check.
Done.
Woo,
rocked it.
That's actually a major key though, bro. It's like those little mind hacks go a really long way. I find too, when your life is falling apart, you probably just haven't made your bed in a while, and if you just make your bed, like everything else starts to roll into place. Real talk.
It's funny that making the bed example is actually one that I fought for so long and can still continue to fight. Like my the last one out of bed has to make the bed, and so like actually, A, that's a good reason for me to get out of bed first, but B, I'm like, we're gonna fucking get in it later again anyways. Why do we have to
totally that way?
And she's like, nah, you got to set yourself up for success for the day. And that actually is hilarious because she's the type of person that like doesn't get hung up. She doesn't have like resistance to action like I find myself having. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the little things like that, like making the bed, like, oh, I don't want to do that, it's pointless. Like, just get yourself to do it regardless, so that like now you're in the mindset of like, oh, there's things I have to do. Mm-hmm. Rather than, no, I'll put everything off because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I've never had an emotional attachment to making my bed, because I've also heard that one a lot too, right? But for me, my bed is never made. My entire life, I don't think I've ever done my bed.
Yeah. I'm not saying I always do it. I'm just saying when my life's falling apart, that's one thing that I can do that'll set everything. If
That's
life's
fair,
good,
yeah.
bro, fuck it.
Yeah, I totally feel that. I think for me, the big thing is the gym. If I'm able to get myself to the gym in the morning, that's like my making my bed. If I can like bust my ass at the gym first thing in the morning, that's like one of the biggest forms of physical resistance. And if I can overcome that, and I know that's for me, my mind's like, hell yeah, like you're doing awesome today. Keep on going, right?
Exactly.
And ever since quarantine and not be able to go to the gym, I think I've actually seen a big dip in my productivity because I'm like my work life, which is in my living room, and then my personal life, I guess, which is my sleeping bedroom. It's like the lines are totally blurred. And it's been harder for me to like get that ball rolling because normally it's just go to the gym, bust my ass, come home and work, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's why like little like at least particularly in the going to the gym example, like I encountered the same resistance. Like, man, like I know how much, like when I go to work out, like I never like, I tell myself I'm going to take it easy and then I never do. So then like, in the back of my head, I'm like, you know, you're going to kill yourself. Like this is going to be hard. So what I did was I was like, okay, I'm just going to, I like have pre-workout or something that like is a prerequisite to working out that takes no effort. Like if I drink the pre-workout drink and I'm all jacked up, I'm not gonna go to the gym, right? Like you'd feel like such an idiot sitting there like
Sweating.
Wired.
Wired, like I'm gonna lift my mouse and my keyboard and shit. No, you're gonna go to the gym, right? So
Yeah.
you gotta hack your own brain like that, like Tesko said.
Yeah.
Totally.
I feel like the whole thing with being a musician is that since you are your own boss, it's so easy to bullshit ourselves into like taking the shortcut or like not doing the work because it's so easy to be just accountable to ourselves and therefore let ourselves go. And like the only person that really suffers at the end of the day, it's not like we have employees underneath us. We are our own employee. The only person that really suffers is us in our own music career. So the mind hack thing and motivation thing is like more than half of the battle, I feel like, as a musician.
Mm-hmm. I feel too, if you can frame it in some way where you're as if you're doing it for somebody else or as if somebody else is effective, that like snaps you right into work mode.
What do you mean?
Whenever it's just for you, like we have internal resistance to do our own shit. Like Evan, when we were promoting your track and like looking for emails and stuff, when would I have ever done that for myself? Never. Probably like 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been saying I will for 2 years and I'll probably do it in another 2 years. But it's like, oh, promoting the boys' track. Yeah, let's do it. Like right away.
That's the only time that I've done that too. Literally only when you and I sat down. It's the only time I've collected emails for YouTube channels.
Totally.
I'm saying I'm going to do for fucking ever.
I feel like at work too, I could have the most unproductive day. Like I do web dev stuff. I could have the most unproductive day, really not be feeling it. And then like somebody comes to ask me for help and I just like snap into work mode. It's like, yep, bam, done in like half an hour. It's like, man, I've been sitting here for 4 hours, like slugging my way through my own problem. Yeah. I just solved this shit real quick.
Yeah.
There's something about like having other people like get your ass in line, you know? Like prior to this phone call, I was slugging my day away, you know? And I was just like, fuck, like this is a rough day. Like Richard get into Ableton, like this whole mental battle and stuff. And like immediately after hopping into a call with you guys or whenever it's like, oh, I have to jump into a Twitch stream, you're accountable to other people. And it just, you don't have time to think about how sluggish you feel. You just have to turn it on.
Totally.
Yeah, literally, that's why this podcast exists. It wasn't even supposed to be a podcast. Literally, it was like Rip Kenny and Tesko started doing accountability calls so they could like tell each other what their goals were and follow up next week. Yeah. And then I got invited in and then it was like, damn, like we're saying so many cool things that other people would like could be helped by. It's helping each other. We can help other people. Let's just record these and put them out in the world. And so accountability, and now all of a sudden we've got this whole podcast thing going on.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's like, I mean, you're doing a lot of different good things in like one package, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And we still like half of the time that we're on the call is the podcast, and the other half is us like figuring out how to be more accountable to ourselves and each other.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. What's
Yeah.
go ahead.
So I was just gonna ask you about Twitch actually.
Yeah,
You've been killing it on that platform lately, eh?
It's been pretty cool. Yeah, I've been on it for over a year now. It's been crazy how fast it's flown by.
Totally. So it seems like you're doing like track feedback and the occasional like DJ set sort of thing.
Yeah, I did a DJ set in the beginning of my Twitch career a year ago, and I had 3 viewers, and I realized that nobody really wants to see a DJ set from a small artist. Like the incentive for people to go into track feedback is because there's something in it for them too, right? Totally. So it's a very clear product that they can like receive. And also track feedback is a 2-directional like a relationship where I'm talking to them, I'm talking to the chat. Whereas DJ sets is 1-directional. It's basically a YouTube video. Like live shows these days are basically YouTube videos. They're just played live with the chat. So the power of Twitch and live streaming is a conversation and the relationship. And I realized that people really liked my feedback and really liked my personality. So I've just kept on doing it since last year. It's been pretty crazy how much it's grown.
Totally, man. Yeah, I see you blowing up. So you're keeping it just to the track feedback sort of thing?
Yep, that's right.
Currently?
Just twice a week. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what's the plans moving forward? Are you keeping it in that vein, or are you planning on like adding anything new?
I think if I were to evolve it, it would probably involve some sort of like, it would involve music. So either like sample beat battles with like different viewers, or it could be production sessions. Production sessions are pretty 1-directional too, because it's kind of me working and not really focusing on the chat. Whereas like beat battles is totally a show. Like it's an entertaining thing for the viewer. So I think it's much more engaging that way. For me, it's one building block inside of the whole 6th Street social media strategy, if you will. If there's not really a strategy, it's just like, this is a part of my building block that's working. So I'm going to keep on pushing that angle. And of course, my music is my main stuff. And ideally, if I had unlimited time, like I'd be creating content for YouTube, creating content for TikTok, creating content for Instagram, and like Twitch, I guess, as well.
Hey, you and Liz, though, have been doing pretty good on TikTok, though.
Yeah, we had
choreography.
We had one viral video. She actually took it over as her own personal page. Because by the end of last year, this is one problem I ran into, is that like I was thinking about the side content so much more than I was thinking about improving as a producer. And I was like looking at my music critically, and I'm like, Richard, you're not at the point where like your music is at the point of like the people I look up to, you know, like my music doesn't quite sound like this artist or that artist yet. If I'm not there yet, then the side content doesn't really matter that much for me personally, you know. I do think the side content with other platforms is like even more like that's how you sell your music, but is do content that's not your music. So I think it's just as important as your music. But for me, I wanted to focus this year on just writing a lot more and becoming a better producer.
Yeah, build the product that people are going to eventually find through all of the side content that you're eventually going to do.
Yeah.
Because really in this day and age, like you can't really do one without the other. Like music, great. But I heard from an old CSAC rep who said, these days music sells everything in the world except for music.
Yeah. And I think everything else sells music. Yeah, I think you need everything else to sell your music besides for your music. Like you need a music video. You need to be like somewhat like entertaining on YouTube for anyone to even care about your music in the first place.
Yeah, you've got to have some sort of content. Like you said, with the Twitch stream, when it was all about you that first time out, it was like, all right, there's no incentive for other people to show up. But when you're like, all right, what can I do that will benefit other people that, indirectly builds your brand, because all of these people keep coming back to show up to do what you're doing. To be there while you're doing it and get to know you and like you and trust you as a person and an artist and a brand. And then you keep dropping music and you've got all these people that are now paying attention. Yeah. Because they like you, because you gave them something valuable.
Yeah. And for the first time, I think since I started streaming on Twitch a year ago, I felt like there were people who cared about, they saw me as an artist and as a as an artist, which is different than like your friends and family. Because my friends and family are never fans. Like they will always see me as a friend and family and Richard before I am a musician. But the people on Twitch, they simply know me for my personality and know me as an artist first. And for the first time I can post stuff and people are like, oh, I'm so stoked for your music. And I had never had that prior to having some sort of like Twitch presence, you know? And that's one thing that's really working for me. So I'm continuing to push that. And I've like developed a workflow where I don't have to think anything. I can just show up, turn on my computer, and like I have all the templates ready to go. So it's no energy to get started anymore. I just think there are a lot of other angles that I want to be making content, you know, like I think YouTube is super powerful. TikTok is insane right now, but I just don't have the mental energy to think about this content. I want to, but I can't. So yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that.
You mentioned a trap I think so many independent artists fall into is like attempting to convert their friends and family into their fans and supporters when it's like that is not their job. Most of them don't even like whatever kind of music we make.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like my mom loves me and she will support whatever I do. She'll like any Facebook page I ask her for, but it doesn't matter in the long run because she's not the demographic that really wants to go listen to bass music.
Yeah. Yep.
She's a 60-some-year-old lady who, you know, barely listens to music, if I'm being honest. You know, it's like she loves the stuff she fell in love with in the 70s. And that's mostly it.
Yep.
Exactly.
Facts. Yeah, don't be that guy that's posting like bitter posts on social media about real friends and not coming to shows. Because honestly, and I'm sure you guys can relate at least to some level, I value those friendships more, not more than the fan friend, but it's like harder to cultivate those friendships. And if they're not into your music or whatever, that's cool. You need people that aren't like, that don't like you for your music or whatever. Like you just connect with people on a different level. And it's important to not be overly one-dimensional about those relationships.
Yeah. That's right.
I mean, it's even weird sometimes like playing your music for like your best friends. Because like your best friends hear your music all the time. And like for me, like now I can't even tell, like, are they annoyed by this or do they want to hear it? Like, I swear to God, like I have no fucking idea. Like sometimes they'll come over and be like, dude, let me listen to all the new stuff you're working on. I'm like, okay, sick. Like they actually do want to hear this. And then other times we'll be like playing like Catan or something. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I just finished this other thing. Like, let me throw it on. And everyone's like, sure. Okay. And then they're like listening to it, like, and they like literally couldn't fucking care less. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I can imagine so demoralizing to be like, oh my God.
yeah, you're like, I have no idea. And the thing is, like, it doesn't really matter, but like, I like having that reference point for friends that know my music and can give me feedback on it, but I also don't want to just like cram it down their throats and be like, listen to this shit and tell me it's good. Like, that's not what I'm looking for, but like, I still want to play it for them because they're my friends. So it's like, how do you even... It's such a like concept, you know?
I feel like you got to be careful when you see the vision to not show people this incomplete view of the vision because their opinions might sway you and they didn't see that vision as you saw it. It came to you in a very specific way. And so if you get like a meh or whatever, it's like that can be totally demoralizing. Like you said, Richie, like, do you prefer Richie or Richard, by the way?
Either's fine. For a while, like Richie was the thing I was pushing as like my dance. Well, it was sort of like my dance alias. But Richard and Richie are both fine.
What do your friends call you?
I mean, Liz calls me Richard. Whatever you're more comfortable with, honestly. I'm cool with either.
That's not what I asked. What do your friends call you?
Literally both. I get Richie mostly from the dojo, and Richard from Liz and my other friends, but yeah, it's literally both.
What if I just
the kid
Rich?
Rich is cool too. Richie Rich, actually. I have to say Richie Rich.
Richie Rich.
Richie Rich.
Showing off Macaulay Culkin vibes out here.
I'm gonna change my email ending, my like title at the bottom, Richie Rich.
Yeah,
Love
EDM.com headline, 6th Street changes his name legally to Richie Rich.
Hell yeah, I like it. We're keeping
Keep
it.
6th Street as his DJ name, but his actual government name is now Richie Rich.
Yeah.
Sign the checks, everybody.
I like it. My middle name is Rich. Richie Rich.
So, as far as music, like, I know you were saying you hit a bit of a lull recently, but as far as like the bigger picture, kind of where are you headed currently, where are your priorities, and what's been interesting you lately?
So for me, one of the things for me, it's like I think I've been feeling a plateau in my skill and like hearing a lot of the music that I like want to create and the vibe, whether it's like sound design or mix or anything like that. Like that's sort of where I'm like, I want to get to the point where my music is blowing me away and getting the recognition from like certain labels that I really like a lot, you know? I think a good mark for me, and I know like the label scene is a lot more than just having quality music. It's like connections, if you know someone, blah, blah, blah. But I'm also in the mindset, if your music is so good, like labels cannot say no to that. You know, if your music is stellar to the point where it's just fucking awesome, no matter if you're a nobody or not, like labels will want to put their name on that and back that up and put it out. And I want to know for myself that like my music is at that level. So it's right now it's a lot of like thinking about strategic collaborations, like working up, like finding artists or vocalists that have a bigger following than me, because I trust that I can make great music, but I also wanted to partner with people with a bigger following to sort of combine audiences, and then just getting better at the same time and just making great music and pitching it to labels. And if labels aren't picking it up, that just means I have to hit square one again, watch for weekly downloads, and just keep on training, you know? So it's that big cycle right now. Well, as I'm thinking about, like, I have like maybe 10 different songs that I'm working on at one time. And each one, when I finish it up, I ask myself, is this going to be good for the labels right now? If it's not good enough, I have to hit square one and just keep on training.
Word. Yeah, you got the right mindset.
I got a friend named D. Lyle. He's an incredible artist, and his motto with his music is, if it's not a 10, do it again.
Yeah, it's for real. I remember listening to something Seth Godin was talking about, like the marketing guy. He was saying that, like, once you kind of find your like 10 super fans who are like into your music, if you send them your track, like those 10 people, figuratively 10 people, but you send it to them and they are not sharing it to all their friends, like it's like not catching a fire with those 10 people, then the product isn't good enough. The actual music or the product that you're selling to them isn't good enough. So that's been sort of the bar I'm holding for myself right now, is like, I'm going to share it with the people that I think are excited about my music. If they're not like pushing it out to the world, then I realize that like maybe it wasn't catchy enough. You know, maybe it didn't hit hard enough or whatever the reason is.
You got to link us all up, homie.
Sorry?
You got to link us all up, homie. We're in that 10 for sure.
Yo, I appreciate
that shit.
Yo, thank you. Yeah, that means a lot. But yeah, I think it's also just like the constant struggle to be a better artist and be a better producer. Yeah, like there's some songs I get excited about. Sometimes I mix down some vocals and I'm like, fuck, I have no idea what I'm doing. This sounds bad. So like that's something that over the course of the years, I want to be super confident in my ability to, like, if I have my hand on a record, I'm going to make it a hit, because I know that I can do that. So yeah.
Yeah, man, that's crazy to hear though, because every time I'm struggling with a vocal, I send it to you and be like, "Yo, what would you do to this, man?"
No, I mean, even for me, like I've been proud of some of the vocal mixes I've done in the past, and then some of the vocal mixes I've done recently. I'm like, man, that sounds brittle, that sounds thin. I know what I could do, but why isn't it working this time? Because every vocal is different, you know. So yeah.
Yeah. I've definitely had some issues where I realize like, oh, I'm just like over processing it. Just let me here's what I'll do. Delete every plugin in the chain and listen to the raw vocal again and be like, okay, what's it actually need though?
Yeah.
Not me adding the 13th and 14th plugins in the chain. That was definitely not what it needed. Let me just delete all of these things and listen to it with fresh ears. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people get scared of, is like starting a mix over. They think, no, I've already done all the work, I got to keep it. Like, sometimes delete plugins. And, you know, if you want to save that version and save version 2.0 of your session and like But like, it's such a beautiful thing to just take all the faders back down to negative infinity and bring them back in the order of importance. Like Seth Drake talks about, find the nuggets, connect the dots. Like, what is the actual core of this song? Let me make that part sound good again, and then see where I'm at with fresh ears.
I think that's such an important topic. That actually segues perfectly into the one thing that I wanted to bring up in discussion today, which is, like you said, deleting everything and starting again. Like I ran into a similar issue working, not like the same issue, but basically, okay, so actually, Richie, it's on the collab that we were working on. So you had like the break and the pre-chorus, and then like we were working on coming up with some other drop ideas. And so like I left the entire intro, break, pre-chorus, and I was just trying to come up with a drop idea. And like everything I was doing just kind of felt stale. And I was like, fuck, man, like what's going on here? I spent like 2 sessions like trying to come up with a drop idea, and it just wasn't working. And I was like, what are we gonna do? And then I was like, you know what, fuck it. Like let me just take the entire like 3 vocal groups, copy those over to the right, and then let's just like try and build a similar song or the same song, but just like introducing pieces that I know I like, and then, you know, maybe reimagining some of the pieces with like the midis and coming up with like a different version. And I was like, oh fuck, like I thought to like play this other guitar riff for like the break and then layer that in there. And then that actually became like the main thing for the break. And I realized that like just like having no input or like having everything before what I was working on being one way and getting so used to it, trying to come up with a drop, I was just like not coming up with anything good. That like working backwards back to bare bones and then introducing pieces as I saw fit, like reimagined the song in my own head for myself. And then when I got like to actually writing a drop idea for that, then it was like, then everything just started flowing. And so like, I think this is also one thing that like most people don't really talk about as far as workflow is working backwards, like being okay with the fact that like what you've done up until this point might be good, but you're going for great. So like strip it back to what you know is great, and then try again and see what you get. And now I'll play you the song at some point. It's not mixed yet, but I'm really quite happy with the final result now.
Nice. You were working on the second drop or a new drop?
Yeah, so I have like a full new song that is like basically the genesis of like the main themes and ideas and like vibe of the original, kind of just like not reimagined, but like just done with more of my stamp, I guess.
Yeah.
But just like the way that it like worked when I like rebuilt it like that, like made way more sense to me, and I think the final product is way more cohesive. But yeah, it definitely was like difficult to work through that, like getting over the mental resistance of doing all of that work again. And so I like started that process at noon yesterday. And I worked on that song until 6 a.m. to get to get a full song. And now I have something I'm really proud of. But like,
oh yeah, that's awesome.
The resistance, if I was just like, no, I just got to keep plugging away at these different drop ideas, like I never would have got there.
Yeah. You know, I think it's kind of like when you are writing a melody or a top line lyrics to a song, it's impossible to do that if you already have another vocalist singing, because your mind is just hooked on that other main face, you know? Like for me, if I'm singing harmonies or trying to find a top line, if I create a decent top line, I have to mute it, go back to the chords by themselves, and then rethink of a new top line that could be better. But if you like are stuck on an old drop idea, the drop idea's already got the face and everything in there. It's almost impossible to rethink or imagine a new drop because you've already got the face already baked into that drop. Yeah. So going back to the chords, stripping it down and sort of like you said, reimagining it is such a great way to develop those new ideas.
Yeah.
Sample yourself. Be Kanye.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm getting this picture of like thinking about back in the day how they used to mix. Like they would record everything to these big reel-to-reel tapes, and they would just have raw audio on the tapes. and then they would run it through like a big mixing board, like an SSL or something, and print it to another tape. They would do all the work in one session and print it to another tape and then zero out the board. And they would present that to the label. And if they didn't like that mix, they would start over with the raw files and bring everything back up one channel at a time and mix it together. I heard they did that like, I don't know the actual number, but like 40, 50 times for the record Beat It by Michael Jackson.
To get it
and
right.
they kept doing it over and over. The real fucked part though, the mix that they chose was mix number 2 of 50 or whatever the number was. It's like the second one is the one they were like, all that other stuff we did was cool and all, but really we captured the soul of the record on mix 2.
That's crazy.
They couldn't have realized that by mix 4 either.
Yeah. Like, please, come on now. Not 50 mixes. That's crazy.
God, I feel so bad about everything we complained about earlier now.
I know. I was just thinking, I'm glad I got into music in this day and age because that's way too much work. There's no way I would do that.
For real.
Yeah, plus we get to work in our living rooms in quarantine. We don't have to go into the studio and have access to somebody else's $10 million setup to work at all.
Isn't that crazy that it still blows our mind that we can write professional sounding records from our laptop? We can render down a whole thing and send it to labels and stuff and festival ready stuff from our laptops. Like the barrier to entry is nothing now, which is insane.
Yeah, the new barrier to entry is cutting through all the noise of how many records are being made on so many laptops.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way anymore though. I used to, but I feel like obviously there's a lot of subpar stuff being put in, and we talked about this a podcast or two ago, but like I think Evan, you brought it up when we were talking about how mixing takes the least amount of time, but idea generation takes the most amount of time now. It's like once you get to a certain point, it's like if you're just writing genre X or genre Y or whatever, then you have some guidelines to follow and everything's pretty straightforward, but you're not really like surprising people so much. And as you break through that and like blend more genres and stuff together, then you're a big fish in a small pond. And it's like, I felt like once I purposely started aiming for how do I write something that is so uniquely me, nobody would even think to mix these things together. It was so mentally freeing. I was like, oh, I'm here and all these other people are running down this lane, but now this lane is totally open. I can skip through this shit, no problem.
Yeah. That is true. I feel like that even just thinking about how to blend genres and create your own unique product is part of the idea generation too. It's like being smart about what angle you're making, like why you're making your music,
Totally.
Yeah.
I think it is true that every single person has a unique cross section of taste that is cannot be replicated by anyone else, right? Like the same kid that has like 90% of his taste in dubstep and then 10% is like old obscure R&B records or something like that. Like you could make a combo of those two that would be interesting and that probably only that person would care about. Or not care about, but be able to do, right?
Totally.
So, like you said, I think it's really important that people focus on creating that thing that only they could make, because then you're just reducing your competition down to zero. The point that some people will bring up, and I actually had this conversation with a student the other day. He was like, after I had talked with him about, finding out what your unique cross-section of taste is, we kind of built a framework for what he likes and what he's like really passionate about. And we kind of came up with this triangle of influences for him. And he came back and he's like, I think my cross-section of taste is too specific, and I'm worried that no one will be interested in it. And
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, yeah, that is exactly where you want to be. The thing is, like, you can try and be like, okay, like, I want to make music that everyone that likes EDM is going to like. Well, unfortunately, unless you're really, really passionate about making basic ass EDM records, it's going to come across as ingenuine. And in today's day and age, more than anything else, people respect someone that is true to themselves, that represents an accurate reflection of them and their taste and their personality. And people connect with that thing way more than your attempt at trying to do the EDM thing, unless you're actually truly, genuinely passionate about, making a basic EDM record. And so my counter to that point was like, in today's day and age where you can reach such a specific audience with your music, it's almost like you have to find your ideal cross-section of taste, the music that you could make for the rest of your life and never, ever get tired of. The music that like you want to listen to every day that no one else is making. And then come to terms with, okay, this is my product. This is my genuine representation of me. Now, how do I find a market for that? How do I get it in front of the right people that are going to care? How do I reach all of my 1,000 true fans with that music? Because you really do have a shot to get lifelong fans with music that is that genuine to you. And I think you have no shot if you're just disingenuinely going for the money grab of basic ass shit no one cares about.
That's really good to hear that right now, because I in my mind too, like part of me, like last year I was talking about doing all this like TikTok stuff and YouTube stuff, and think about doing remixes of like memes and stuff like that. And to some degree, it is a marketing tool. Like you can do that, like a hot meme, make a fun beat out of it, put it out on YouTube, get hundreds of thousands of views and get some eyeballs on your brand. But that's not sustainable in the long run. And it's not true to the music that I want to make at all. It's just literally a marketing tool at that point. So I think it's a good word to remind me that like, oh, it's just really about the music that I want to make. And
yeah,
that's the only thing that's really sustainable.
Like what meme producer have you seen at a festival?
Lil Pump.
Is Lil Pump a meme producer?
Well, he's a meme.
He's not even a producer.
No.
Well,
He's a rapper that made a song that was so catchy that it became a meme.
I literally was going to say the only person that I know that has ever crossed over somewhat decently is Ashton Kutcher, because he was really early on making like the viral, like sampling the pizza guy.
Yeah.
He was super early on that. And the thing that actually transitioned him was that is his exact style of music that he just happened to blend really well with a funny video.
I know one. I don't know if you guys follow Aries.
Oh yeah, it's a duo, yeah.
Not a meme producer, dude. I liked Aries' music before. I haven't even seen a single meme video from them.
No, not the duo. Aries, he's like I don't even know, like indie hip hop dude. He started on YouTube just doing memes of like how to recreate this song in 2 minutes, or like if XXX Tentacion Sad was a happy song, or like he do flips like that, and they were just a few minutes long. And now he's released his project, and it's like doing pretty good numbers, and like he's got a pretty decent fan base, booked a tour off it, like dude's crushing it.
Yeah.
That being said, now he doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah, true. And the thing is, you have to have the chops to like, after you have people's attention, be like, okay, that was nice. That was cute. Here's the thing you should actually care about, and that thing has to be, like we said, genuine to you. I guarantee that Aries project that he presented was like what he wanted to do the whole time.
Oh, it was unique.
Did a good job getting people's attention, but you ain't gonna listen to someone's SpongeBob SquarePants trap flip.
Talk to Ramzoid about that. He just popped into my mind too.
At a festival.
Ramzoid's killing it. He went on tour with like Grammatic, and he's doing his own like really cool, unique blend of shit. And he was doing like exactly like remixing SpongeBob and shit like that. Like he's killing it now.
But I feel like his music is also more in that vein of like entertainment, like go hard. It's like
his original shit is like proper.
Yeah. But I was thinking about, in my case, for more melodic producers, I don't see too many melodic producers that are doing that, because most of the time they flip like a SpongeBob sample into a trap banger, and that'll get clicks. But then if people are like following 6th Street on YouTube for my meme trap bangers, it's a harder jump to get them to convert to like my more melodic feature bassy stuff, you know? Whereas like Ramzoid and like Moonboy and stuff like that, they have big YouTube followings, but their music sort of reflects the sort of memeable, hardcore, like let's just have a good time sort of vibe. It's a less of a barrier to like switch over to be like, oh, he's also a dubstep producer or whatever that is, you know?
Yeah,
that's a really good point. Like, I'm checking out this book right now called The 4D Songwriter, which is all about.
I bought it too.
Bought that too. Yeah, real cool.
$3. That guy is insane. That is such a good deal.
It's a good book too.
Yeah, it's a really good book. I'm on my second listen to the audiobook right now. And he talks about like, sit down, listen to your music, and like write out all of the imagery, the colors, the vibes, the places you're transported to in your mind. Write that all down, fill up a few pages, and then go through that and decide what from that is really the core branding image that you want to push. And so then any ancillary content that you make that points back to your brand and eventually to your music, does it fit that core representation? So if you're making really emotional, you know, sincere music that hits all the feels, doing goofy meme shit doesn't point back to that. Where if you're
it
like,
almost hurts your brand.
Hey, let's all take some drugs and be goofy music, let's also make some goofy meme stuff that you can laugh at while on drugs, because they, you know, it's only one branch over on the music tree, as opposed to like
the
coming
opposite
off
spectrum.
the next tree over. Yeah.
And it almost hurts your brand. And it could alienate people if people are like, oh, 6th Street is like a memeable festival trap banger producer, and then all of a sudden
thing like it's like, oh, he's doing that for attention rather than. So okay, here's what you do: you take the SpongeBob theme song and you reharmonize.
I was thinking about that too.
Turn it into a bunch of dreamy ass pads, do a bunch of MIDI tracks that have 20 notes tall, like I know you like to do. And,
I love my chords.
And make it a SpongeBob synthwave future pop action.
Yeah, I was thinking about something like that actually, because I was thinking of what's on brand that people could get a taste of my music, especially on TikTok. If you're able to, I was thinking about taking like some of their big creators and taking their little voice bites and then making a little bit of like a beautiful song out of it to try to make a viral video there, because it's more on brand. It's all marketing stuff that's like floating around in my head that I probably won't ever do, but I've been considering that too, versus making dubstep bangers, because that's totally cool. Yeah.
Do you know? I think her name's Jana, GVNA.
Yeah.
She did that Maple Story remix, like the future bass version that blew up, but that got her name out there pretty good. That's that's a good one too, because I feel like there's the nostalgia factor of that one. It's not just like a meme.
Last year I did the Kingdom Hearts remix, which is sort of off that, as well as like people who are into nostalgia and feels and video games. That's sort of the same slice of the pie that I'm going for. This year I did like a League of Legends. That was more of a down tempo, sort of mid tempo like track. It was different, but I think that's definitely a good way to go about it, is to find like video games or remix artists that you really like that are in the same genre as you. So
yeah, I have this EP in the works that is literally just remixes of like teenage angst emo tracks.
Yeah.
Like My Chemical Romance, Helena, Linkin Park, Somewhere I Belong, Evanescence, Bring Me to Life, Korn, Freak on a Leash, and then System of a Down, BYOB.
Yeah.
You got to show us that after, bro.
That's going to be, that's going to get you a lot of clicks, dude, because people are like.
The fucking thing is, where do I put that?
Those YouTube channels that we were talking about.
I literally uploaded the Linkin Park remix to private on SoundCloud so I could send it to someone to listen to. And SoundCloud's like, no, this is owned by someone else. Fuck off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude. Like, where the fuck do I even? That's why that like actually kind of took the wind out of the sails on that.
Oh, because I thought
put this?
YouTube, the cool thing
yeah.
about YouTube,
YouTube.
like, for example, man, like the Bounce Gang pull-up that we're doing where people get to play, a lot of the songs people play, especially when it's like the placement round, like, oh, this one's out. YouTube copyright IDs them right away when, right after the live stream's over and is like, hey, you can't monetize this. We're going to put ads on this and monetize this for the people whose copyright that actually is. But they don't take it down. They don't give you a strike. It's not like, they don't hate on you for it. It's not like you're stealing somebody else's TV show and just putting it on, it's like YouTube does it right. So I think YouTube's going to be the wave for you on that one, man.
I'm so glad that you said that. I did not understand that. That is fucking brilliant.
And you do your own visuals and stuff too. That's even better than SoundCloud.
Oh, fire reignited. Let's go. That's gonna get done, man.
Yeah, and YouTube's not dying right now, so
YouTube is never going to die.
My YouTube channel has 3 subscribers. I just started it like a week ago. So please subscribe.
Anyone listening to this /Rip Kenny?
/Rip Kenny Music.
I'm gonna go subscribe right now.
Yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube right now, go to our channel at the Human Music Podcast, and Rip Kenny, Tesko, and myself's channels are all right there for you to check out as well.
Do yourself a favor, follow 6th Street, and check him out on Twitch too, because the men's is hot.
Thanks, appreciate it.
There's that song, "Men's Not Hot," doesn't apply to 6th Street or his music. That shit is hot, son.
You guys are the best. Appreciate y'all.
I like it.